the oil dipstick. That'll let the it'll let the crankcase drain quicker if air can flow in as the oil leaves the crankcase. See if I can zero in, zoom in. Should be able to. All right. On this machine, the way to change the oil is this cap needs to come off. But you don't want to just put your socket or wrench on there and start turning, because this whole pipe can turn. This pipe goes into the engine, into the crankcase. So I'm going to hold the pipe still with these vice grips before I start turning this cap. Now the reason I wanted to run the engine before I did the oil change, and then I did the oil change as soon as the engine shut off, was because the oil will pick up the junk that's been sitting in the crankcase, and the oil will suspend that. But as the engine cools, that stuff that's in suspension will settle back down on the bottom again. So right now I'm removing as much of that sediment as possible, because it was so well suspended within the oil at the time that I drained the oil. So that when I put the fresh oil, that fresh oil isn't going to have that sediment left in the crankcase to have to deal with. Also, the oil will flow quicker when it's warm. But the main reason why you want to change oil while the oil is right after the engine's been running, which means that the oil would be hot, isn't the heat. It's because you want that suspension of the particles. So now I'll just go ahead and tap this. Again, I'm going to hold the, feels like we got a little burr. Anytime you get a bit of resistance on something when you're threading, my recommendation is unthread it, clean the threads, and then restart threading. It'll take longer. You'll have much, much fewer headaches. Save yourself a great deal of expense if you just follow that rule when you're working on things. That rule, and don't over tighten. Don't tighten things too tightly. Don't undercut either. You want to go for just the right amount of tightness. So now I'm going to hold that again, especially because we're dealing with an aluminum block or an aluminum housing here that this steel pipe threads into. Aluminum, when it's warm, behaves like butter when butter is warm. Cool butter, is hard to spread on bread. But once that butter is warm, it's a lot easier to spread. Well, aluminum, when it's warm, is a lot easier to strip because it's so much closer to being like a liquid. Just like butter is closer to being like a liquid when butter is warm. So by holding the steel pipe still, I'm not jeopardizing the aluminum base that the pipe threads into. And that's as tight as I'm going to go. So we're done with draining the oil. Now it's a matter of filling. Probably wasn't enough, but it's pretty close to being enough. So I'm going to let that sit. And I'm going to lift the front end a little bit to get the air out of this pipe, just to make sure that there's not air in there, making it pretend that it's too full or that it's got enough oil. So I'm going to rock it back. And that way, if there is air in this pipe, that air should be bubbling upwards, and this should be filling with oil. And then similarly, I'm going to pull on the pull start so that the heavy oil will find its way towards the bottom, even if there's an air pocket somewhere. And that air pocket will get pushed up towards the top and leave. And again, I need to cut this cord to the right size, but I did not know when I left that I'd be cutting something, so I didn't bring scissors with me. Won't be needed for months anyhow, so I'd rather not do a hack job on it. I'll do that when I have the right thing to cut it and burn the end of it back to a solid piece. So my target, I'm trying to get just beneath that word full. Somewhere in this hatched area will be fine. I'd prefer to be closer to the top of it. Okay, right now it's saying that we're in the middle of that hatched area. So for right now I'm comfortable with trusting it. I'm not going to go out of my way back to the store to buy more oil at this point in time. I'm going to let it sit. And then in the fall, I'll recheck that before we start this snowblower. That was my car. I must have hit the key accidentally when I bent over. So that's it. This ought to give me a better idea as to whether or not I did okay with how much oil I put. I started out with about half a quart in here, so if it refills to about half a quart, we know I put in what I took out. Like I said, I'll be double checking it in the fall to top it off. When it comes to oil, the more sure you can be, the better off you are. Alright, well, we're definitely very close. I'd say I could use a couple more ounces. Maybe 2 more ounces at the most. I'm fine the way I am with it right now. Alright, I'm going to turn off the camera.